GM everyone, welcome to Keep Nouns Weird. This is episode 2 of a 5-arc live stream series all about keeping nouns weird. We've got a great show today. A lot of fun stuff to talk about in the Figma board, and I am joined by Index Card. As always, Index Card GM.
GM, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well. So we got a couple of games to play too today to make it interesting, and let's jump right into it here on the other side of this intro. We'll see you in a minute. All right, GM everyone, timestamp. This is Thursday, March 16th, middle of the day. I'm joined by Index Card. GM.
GM again. Back for Keep Nouns Weird, episode 2. Little Panda and I are just going to kind of dive into our Figma that we've been working on all week. And talk about kind of the weirder side of nouns, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. So as this Figma loads up here, you're in this Figma file too, right? So you've got that cursor.
Yep. You see my cursor.
So before we get started, right, quick intros. I'm Lil Panda here with the pink purple noggles. This Little Panda number 5845. You are Index Card, right?
Yep. Noun 487, the only index card in the collection so far. I am also a little noun. I believe it's little 5795, but I go by noun 487 mostly.
And new recipient of indexcard.eth, right?
Yeah, about a week or so ago. I finally made an offer and it was accepted. So slowly transitioning my kind of nouns branding into the index card and trying to really become the index card in every way I can. Have to do a little bit of shuffling on my wallets and ENSs sometime this week. Maybe on stream we can do some of it or talk about it at some point on a future show. But yeah, got a little rearranging to do so I can fully embrace this new ENS.
That will be fun. And yeah, just a reminder, this live stream is sponsored by Nouns DAO. This prop here, Keep Nouns Weird. We got a lot of votes from the Little Nouns community, Nounsel community, and we got funded half an ETH to do this series. So definitely want to shout out Little Nouns, Nounsel, Nouns DAO, of course, Prop House, which makes it all happen. Quick reminder here, we are streaming right now live on Twitter, Twitch, and YouTube. Best viewing experience if you're not joining us live, but joining us after the show is probably going to be on YouTube. Right now, it's Lil Panda WTF on YouTube, and we'll probably have some future news about that later. But I want to shout that out, and yeah, let's get into it here. What's this list of 11 items mean here, Index Card?
So yeah, originally. And you still kind of do it. You started streaming here, kind of the Little Panda show. You would bring on guests, and one day you asked me to be the guest. I hopped on it. We kind of enjoyed our time, hit it off. You asked me to come back the next week, and I did. And now we're here, kind of co-hosting a show. So we did a little bit of design work or redesign work on the screen to try and include me and you in one screen. I've got a pretty wide head, so it's a little bit tough. But yeah, we spent a little bit of, like, I don't know, 20, 30 minutes trying to work through variations where we both fit on the screen. Kind of like an unofficial logo of our stream.
Shout out, by the way, Zylag.eth for this TV from the Little Nouns Figma library. Shout out to him for that. Love this. So which one of these? So we popped up a couple of these. Which one did you like the best? Which one did we end up going with? These are more kind of like here. This was this was me looking at you,
Is
and
that
this
you
is the
reading
back
off
of
of me?
your index card. Yeah, actually, that one is pretty cool. But which one did you like?
Yeah, I think we went with, or we're going with kind of like that number 5 or 7. Are those uh, very similar, or if not the same? But yeah, keeping like the aspect ratio of me being the big, you being the little, kind of collaborating a little bit of, even though I'm active in littles, a little bit of a cross DAO collaboration between the two, and I kind of like the fact that it makes our little story special. There's not, I don't know, I don't want to say there's not, but definitely unique to have the big and the little working together like this in the ecosystem.
Yeah, feels that same way to me. Yeah, I also love how we have the same accessory, but it shows up differently in the Low Noun collection. But we're both stained with zombie stains, so I like seeing that.
Yeah,
But
that's
yeah,
kind
we
of a
went with
funny little, yeah, funny little tidbit that we both have the same accessory, just coincidentally.
yeah. So we went with 5, and let's put this on screen now. There it is. There we go. So we've got a new watermark here. Index card, you're working on a YouTube channel, but don't quite have that set up, right?
Yeah, between last stream and this stream, I activated a YouTube channel for my index card and also a Twitch channel. Still trying to figure out what I'm going to stream there and how we're going to kind of work together. Kind of figuring it out as we go week by week, but slowly increasing the, I guess, production value of our content, the distribution of our content, and kind of just trying to professionalize it a little bit across multiple different platforms. So eventually in the future, maybe not so distant future, I'll start doing some streams to my channel. We'll do streams to both, and kind of just figure out what's best to get our stuff out there.
Definitely. Definitely. So let's get into the meat here. Let's get into the intro. We've talked a lot about what this show is about, but basically, one of the first things we're trying to do is just kind of document who in nouns is weird. What are the weird things that are happening? And so, I threw a couple of these on here today. Gami, infamous noun, very involved. Obviously, the founder of NARS. His skateboard head here is iconic. I believe it's down 189. Gami definitely very involved in nouns and has fully embraced the skateboard head. Probably maybe almost one of the earliest, if not the earliest, to really embrace a noun as a character. But what do you think? The next card.
Yeah, he's definitely one of the earlier members to kind of take it and really run with it and build an entire identity / culture around it. We have a couple on our list, like Shark DAO, more of a collective thing, but their Swim Shady is pretty iconic, and that came a little bit before. And then you had a couple others here and there that maybe tried it for a little bit, didn't really stick, or they're partially known as their noun. But yeah, Gami is kind of a pioneer in this space. And I've heard him even say that at some point, like he doesn't really concern himself with the book value of this noun or anything quite like that. But because he really thinks that he can build a brand and identity around the noun and increase the value beyond anything like that. You might be muted if you don't know.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Sorry about that. But yeah, that is definitely a weird thing about nouns is even if the project does, let's take the inverse. Let's say the project does really, really well and becomes very important and valuable. Any particular noun might not, right? There might be like some stigma attached with the noun. something that sort of you do to your noun or with your noun. And that's just a very weird kind of thing. But yeah, he is a skateboard. He has sovereignty over it, and he can do what he wants with it.
Yeah, I've kind of wondered the same with my noun. Not to make it about myself, but I've wondered the same. Like I don't think we've quite gotten there yet, but it'll be interesting if we ever get to a point in nouns where two people are fighting for kind of the same noun head. Um, I guess maybe your experience in littles can probably shed a little bit of light on it because obviously there's now 7,000 littles, or maybe a little more than that. So the rarity of heads in littles is a lot lower than in nouns. I don't know if you have any insight.
Yeah, I do somewhat. And just a reminder, we really got to make a slide about this because I forgot. But I always like to be very upfront and clear, financial kind of disclaimer sort of thing. But I really do mean it. I give financial advice on stream, and my financial advice is don't buy any crypto token, don't buy anything I talk about, don't buy anything Index Card talks about. Just don't buy it. So I want to be super clear about that. I own Little Nouns. I think I own 7 thereabouts. You own Noun 487. We're both, you and I, very involved in the Nouns ecosystem. So take everything we say with a grain of salt, I guess. Index Card, anything you want to add to that kind of financial disclaimer?
I'm just going to go with what you said. Yeah. Let you be the professional on that one. Purely entertainment purposes on my end.
Interesting approach. All right, thank you. So yeah, with that out of the way, you asked about Little Nouns, rarity. Yeah, I think that's actually kind of a good segue into Wiz, because Wiz loves the wizard hat. And when we put together a little block party, which kind of sort of like a NOMO, but for littles, which lets you kind of pick a trait. Wizards hats, I believe, were in high demand, and several were commissioned. Where basically there was some exchange of value, where people wanted a wizard hat, and then someone would go and sit on a little block party and just watch for hours, and then try to settle within that block when a wizard hat came on screen.
Yeah, the wizard hat is definitely. I mean, I don't know where the ranking lies, at least in nouns, but it's got to be somewhere in the top 5, roughly, most desired heads. The cat, the wizard hat, maybe void. Those are 3 that really stand out. But yeah, he also, I guess the wizard hat and Wiz kind of represents also sort of like Gami, where Gami is the skateboard, but the skateboard is also Nars. Same thing with Wiz and the Wizard. There's Wizard's Dow, and then Wiz is also the wizard hat. So it's kind of a blend between the two things, where it's a collective representing a noun, but also the individual.
Yep, definitely. And yeah, in this particular case, I put it up more here as Wiz, this identity here, who I know is active in Little Nouns, who's building out infrastructure, federation, which started out kind of in a prop house round and went on chain, and is building just very important infrastructure for sort of this kind of infinite game version of Nouns. Yeah, so Wiz, friend of the show, doing important work. I think we can learn a lot from him as a gamer as we keep telling this story. But yeah, I definitely want to shout out to Wiz, friend of the pod. Ah, awesome. A Federation card.
Yeah, working live here. So I delegated my noun 487 to Wiz for the submission of the proposal that kind of put Federation on chain at Nouns. And that was the first proposal that my noun had been a part of, and it was pretty cool. I didn't really have anything to do with the actual development of it. I'm not on the team, but it just felt good that my noun could finally play a part in this space.
That's amazing. I had no idea.
Yeah, but Federation, a really cool tool because I think in the context of keeping nouns weird, it really will play a big role because we'll see all these kind of sub communities able to have more of a voice in the main DAO in a more streamlined fashion. And I think we're really going to start to see kind of more of them pop up and more of them be present in the DAO. I'm excited to see kind of where it takes nouns, this tooling.
Yeah, yeah, and we would love to have Wiz on the show, or we're definitely going to feature some fun playing around with Federation. It's live, it's been used. It is really nounish infrastructure, Ethereum infrastructure. So we'll come back to that, I'm sure. But let's move along here along the characters of weird. Honk. I put Honk here, but yeah, what's weird about Honk in your opinion?
To me, when I think of Honk, I think of like pushing the boundaries. I'm not sure what first comes to your mind, but he's definitely a character, and a character that really likes to just push the boundaries in whatever way possible, whether that means testing kind of code and infrastructure to its limits by putting kind of what you have here, a screenshot, some unusual comments. I know some of these on-chain comments have led to a lot of kind of hot fixes for code in the ecosystem, whether that be like Discord bots, I think even like a Nouns Agora or some tooling like that, how to make updates because of his reasons. But he just likes to kind of explore and experiment and find ways to push things to their like breaking point.
Yeah, he put his noun in on one of his votes, I think for the OTG prop, and he told me on stream is because he wanted to break Agora. Love that about Honk. Yeah, in this case, I just picked out a random vote and I saw that he had voted Mandarin characters, so I went and I tried to translate it, and it was something like honking, honk the horn. I also remember, I think it was on. I hope I'm not misremembering this, but I think it was on CDT's pod with him where he described that he came up with the name Honk Diddley just while he was in the car one day. So it's just kind of funny to see how, like, you're in the car one day, you come up with some irreverent name, and now you're voting on chain in Chinese characters. Like, it's just it's a lot of weird stuff going on with Honk, and weird in a really fun way.
Yeah, he used to have a thing in the old Discord with Honk naming variations. I don't know if you ever had seen that or a part of that, but he kind of co-opted the Nouns on the Ground Discord channel in the old Nouns Discord and encouraged everyone to share variations of his name, Honk. So it was kind of like one of those fun, lighthearted community things, I think, that, brought a few people together, and we all celebrated this really kind of unusual, niche, nounish thing of just Honk, but in different formats of famous people, famous characters, all that sort of stuff.
Interesting. Yeah, Honk was on the show earlier. We had an interesting thing. We were doing some art that we're going to get to. Maybe not this show, but maybe next show with Honk's sponge and these gray glasses here. It's pretty iconic. Yeah. All right. So as we were listing all this stuff, let's see. Shark DAO. I don't think we spent enough time talking about Shark DAO last time. So yeah, tell me Shark DAO, true OGs, basically, right? This is now number 2, this one on the left.
Yeah, kind of as OG as you can get in nouns, other than being a nounder. Um, Shark DAO, I guess the first sub DAO, right? First sub community subculture in nouns to form. Uh, Acquired noun two, which technically is the third noun, but the second noun up for auction. On the left, the pineapple guy, but most famously are known for their other noun, the swim shady, kind of on the right here. And it's, I don't know, right now as I'm thinking of Shark DAO, I'm kind of thinking along the lines of like the PayPal Mafia, if you're familiar with them. Um, like a group of people that all have gone off and probably still part of Shark DAO. Some aren't as active, some are. I'm not personally involved in Shark DAO, but they've all gone off within the Nouns ecosystem uh, to do pretty amazing things and are really like ambassadors of the Nouns culture in their like respective domains of expertise. I think it's something really unique in terms of sort of sub DAOs. Just kind of the level in which they've built in Nouns, kind of very prolific members of Nouns, I would say. Very supportive, get the culture, they live the culture, and they kind of just feed that cycle in so many different ways.
Yeah, it's really. I mean, we could do a whole show. We could really do a whole season on Shark DAO. Prolific in so many ways, and we're going to talk about kind of specific actors within Shark DAO. But if you just look at this breadth of experience voting, right, since proposal one, right, like they missed a couple votes for sure, but this is just a DAO that really does care about voting. They also vote. They're active, I believe, in prop house rounds and other sub DAOs. But the level of governance participation really amazing, especially given that there was no infrastructure back then. There was no federation at all. In fact, it'd be kind of interesting to I'm sure were the Sharks held by a multi-sig? I mean, how could they even vote together?
Yeah, I don't know if I could speak fully accurately on like the infrastructure, but a lot of the funds or all the funds raised via Juicebox, and I don't think it's trustless voting. I think it's kind of a snapshot system, uh, and I feel like it may have been a snapshot system from the get go. But I remember coming across Shark DAO when I first, kind of spotted nouns in the wild, and I thought it was just kind of crazy that all these people were coming together to kind of buy this noun. And I really wanted to participate, but I was a little bit hesitant to get involved and kind of like standoffish. But in hindsight, yeah, I kind of wish I just dove in with them. But um, it's really really crazy to think all these people across the world got together because of nouns in such an early stage, willingly pulled their capital together, and formed just kind of like an iconic kind of group. It's pretty nounish, honestly.
Absolutely. And we're going to get into the individuals. But yeah, this is obviously down 47. Look at this, 269.69 ETH. You just, if you're an alien coming to nouns and you see this, feels like this one's going to be important, you know?
Yeah, there's no turning back from that one. That's quite a big commitment, but they've really taken it and ran with it. I'm trying to load up the other bids around it, kind of at least double all the other auctions. I don't know who was. I don't remember who was competing against them, but someone was. Uh, yeah, at the
That's an
time,
interesting. I do
we're talking
remember.
almost like 500,000 at the time, or actually maybe no, like 750,000 almost at the time.
And they were called Shark DAO because of their experience. Again, this is what makes them so prolific, in my opinion. Um, with the Gorley testnet version of Nouns. Something with like they liked the shark head on one of the Gorley nouns, and that's how they agreed to become Shark DAO. So then they waited, and they had to wait till Noun 47 to get the shark. And what would be interesting to go back and look at how they raised money, because it's kind of like if they wanted the first Noun shark, that could happen on day 47 or it can happen on day 2. You kind of got to raise that money early, right?
Yeah, it's kind of like with my own noun. A different time in the DAO and just a solo venture, but if my index card now popped up at any point before I purchased it, I don't think I would be the owner of it. So in a lot of ways, kind of out of my hand, but yeah, I wonder with them, it must have been quite a stressful time trying to coordinate across so many different people, and they pulled it off.
Yeah, let's jump into kind of the individual characters, right? We talked a lot about Goldie already last time. Very involved in early Shark DAO. Anything to say about Goldie?
Yeah, to me, I kind of well, I guess when you're spending any time in Nouns, you automatically come across Goldie and his gifts. So that's kind of probably how I first really got to know Goldie, was through the gifts, but then also just through the whole Noundry experience. He was kind of the liaison for that Noundry committee, and he was the one that kind of communicated with me after I had been selected. We did a podcast together. So fellow Noundry winner and kind of Noundry participant. But I think as a whole, really a steward of nounishness and keeping nouns weird between the gifts, kind of just his approach to governance and voting and reasons, co-owns a noun, started his whole, kind of converted his entire production agency to being nounish. So yeah, like if I had to pick some people to trust, like the direction of the DAO in, I think Goldie would be right up there, at least in my eyes.
Yep, we'd love to have Goldie on the show, future episode. But there's other people weird in Shark DAO that we wanted to get to as well. And Sasquatch, by the way, is deliberately tall. I'll explain that later. But let's get into Joshua Fisher. I sometimes see him as Joshua Fisher. Basically, he's I have not interacted with him other than I've seen him vote just prolifically on behalf of Shark DAO, and I know that he was very involved in the whole string of props involving glasses, charity glasses sort of giveaway. There was a whole number of successful props, a lot of good stuff about that. Have you interacted with Joshua before, NX Card?
From time to time, I'll pop on one of the spaces that kind of Shark DAO hosts on TNS, and I actually really enjoy showing up to that space. It's pretty low key, but it's just a very inviting environment, and I find Joshua Fisher to be just kind of one of the most supportive individuals in Nouns, and always, to me, is looking at everything from kind of the positive side and the bright side. Like, it's like how can he help? How can we get this done? How can we support someone? Kind of really balances out any of the negative aspects of Nouns. Just kind of really positive, wants the best for Nouns, wants the best for builders, and just wants to spread the meme more than anything else, I think. It's kind of like nothing is off limits in his mind to me. Don't want to speak for him, but that's kind of how I see Josh Fisher. Just you need a little bit of positivity. You go and chat with him about something. And yeah, kind of acts as the representative of SharkDAO with on-chain voting and governance. And always kind of not quite in the honk style, but always has some form of shark reference in the voting reasons. And I always really enjoy seeing those, kind of like what their take on the voting reason will be.
Yep. The way you described him to me reminds me of sort of these rose-colored glasses that there was a little kerfluffle over the weekend. But yeah, these are the hip rose-colored glasses. Some people don't like them, but the reason I love them is sort of what you just talked about there with Joshua, is the optimism that rose-colored glasses signal. Sort of the positive side, the looking for the best. I think that nounishness almost sort of depends on a certain amount of that, you know?
Yeah, I agree. I think in reference to the hip rose, I tweeted that it's like just that little bit of whimsy that should permeate all of Nouns culture. And then I would say the same thing probably with Josh, that like his little bit of positivity should permeate all of Nouns culture and would probably be in a pretty good place.
Yep. Okay. Cool. Oh, and yeah, one last thing, and then we got to move on. But also the Jaws Shua Fisher, like he's one of the earliest people that I knew of that really embraced the shark character. And that's something you and I are keeping an eye on, and he's been sort of a leader in that space, in my opinion. Okay, Sasquatch. Now I had him super tall, and then you shrunk him, but there was a reason I had him super tall. I had Sasquatch on the pod. We had a great stream, and his story is he loves the Sasquatch noun, which is sort of this Bigfoot, because he himself is super tall. And I guess early on when he was younger, he was very tall, and people nicknamed him like Sasquatch. And so that was his, the identity that he built as an esports, I think, professional, like gamer. He was Sasquatch. And so all that predated Nouns. Nouns comes along. He's also involved in SharkDAO, by the way. And he's really embraced this Sasquatch name because he had already sort of developed the identity, offline before Nouns existed.
I don't think I knew that part, but that's pretty cool. Is he maybe one of a few that was able to like port more of the real life identity and nickname and into a noun? That's pretty cool. But yeah, big on the esports thing. Kind of just churning away in his own domain of expertise and kind of getting the job done, and really taking kind of the esports domain and running with it in his own way. And I think kind of like a similar to NARS, I would say the esports and Sasquatch are kind of like really good examples of how to take your area, put the nouns kind of ethos into it, but not too much, keep it kind of blend the two up properly. But yeah, having a lot of success, I'd say, with the esports, and I'm excited to see kind of where that goes. I think it has some of the biggest potential in all of Nouns. Just a matter of time before the rest of the world kind of picks up on it.
Oh, I totally agree. Yeah, I had a fascinating conversation with Sasquatch. Again, friend of mine, friend of the show. Shout out Sasquatch. But what I found really interesting about esports was how esports, similar to NARS, sort of being like the Red Bull, but without selling sugary drinks. I think Nouns Esports has that same kind of ethos. And you're talking about an industry, right, that's typically selling kids like energy drinks and, these, gaming mice and, that kind of demo. I think Nouns Esports is really an alternative and really stands out. And if they can find a way to be sustainable, the Noun can keep sustaining them. I think they can make a huge impact.
Yeah, and I think you got to respect somebody that takes an industry that's kind of at large anti-crypto or NFT technology and is just tackling it head on. And kind of, you really got to believe in the vision and mission, I think, to do something like that. And so that's kind of, yeah, that's pretty in line with what we're talking about here as a whole.
And another point about this, by the way, since we're talking about Shark DAO, is I believe esports basically came out of Shark DAO, right? Am I right about that?
Yeah, I think it's his and Brennan's kind of project. I should probably know a little bit more, but
wasn't Brennan Shark DAO? Or
I'm not too sure. I'm not too sure. Yeah, I never got too involved with the Shark DAO side of things, but yeah, either way, Sasquatch is, and he's kind of like one of the big esports guys. But
and shout out Goldie too. This is a mixed noun, right? This is a Sasquatch and the dryer noun. So the Sasquatch kind of comes out of the dryer. I love that.
Yeah, it's so ridiculous. But yeah, you had our next two people here on your show already. You've interviewed CDT, which I listened to, and the Chris Corella, I think you've had on twice, and I listened to both. So you have kind of teased out some really good personal stories, I think, from both these people. But CDT, he kind of I think he told you a little bit of a story about his early days in Nouns and how Shark DAO played a role.
Yep. Yeah. And how he just really, in my opinion, really has modeled Nounish building as sort of a web dev, designer, doer. I think his story is just classic. What I'd say is weird about him, he's actually like a very, I'd say, not weird person. But what I think is weird about him is just how, and he told this story on the stream, and I made a little clip out of it, but he basically went from, he didn't even know anything about crypto to going into Nouns to basically becoming a full-time Nouns contributor where he works now for the DAO in a very short period of time. And I think he's just an example of like a very normal-ish type of person with a, family, career, who just kind of went from not even knowing anything about crypto to being full-time working for the DAO, getting paid in USDC. I think that's weird.
I agree. In like its own way, it's as weird as it gets to just come across something, dive straight in as much as you possibly can, in like the good ways, all the good ways. Super productive, prolific, and just kind of went in and never looked back, and has produced and helped produce some of the greatest parts of the Nouns ecosystem, like Prop House, along with Seneca. Now Talk podcast was kind of one of the early kind of Nouns-centric media produced. And yeah, I've gone back, I've listened to all his episodes. And it kind of like almost like a Nouns historian via the podcast, but also just kind of really took the opportunity that Nouns presents and ran with it. Kind of an example for everyone else who might be thinking about doing the same, I think. Follow CDT's footsteps and just go with it. Yeah.
100%. And yeah, shout out totally to CDT. I mean, I can't talk about do a whole show on all this stuff, but like he did a show with Honk, Diddley, and Shep. He did a podcast. I listened to the podcast. I basically had like some follow-up questions, and so kind of set the ability for me to DM Honk and say, hey, you want to come on my show? And he said, yeah. So yeah, CDT also, he came onto this stream, very generous with his time, very nice. Really helped me kind of think about how I approach it, and said some really meaningful things to me. So big shout out CDT. I do have an appreciation for this mix now here, because he told me that he likes it as his PFP because it sort of works for normies. Like, it's not as outlandish. It's like it's wearing like a nice professional shirt that's like nice and lined, and it's squared off, and so this is kind of his avatar that he likes to use, because it's sort of weird, but still kind of normie-ish.
Yeah, I'd agree. It's just aesthetically pleasing. The colors fit nice. The proportions are nice. Yeah, an aesthetically pleasing mixed noun. There it is. Your kind of slide from your episode. Noun center, nouns resident, prop houser. Kind of put his hand in like everything. And I actually have to give a shout out to Noun Center. I think nouns.center/traits is one of my most commonly open tabs at all times. I got nouns.center/traits, nouns.wtf/explore, and then studio.noundry.wtf. Those are like my three most used nouns websites, I think. So
let's make a card for that, and let's talk about that on another episode, like a power rankings for noun sites. Yeah, shout out CDT. Big fan of your work, CDT. Okay, Chris Carella, also coming from Shark DAO. Yeah, I mean, I've talked with him publicly. I think you know kind of why I like Chris. What do you think is weird about Chris or notable?
So I've met Chris before in real life at Art Basel in Miami, wearing a purple shirt, which is kind of amazing. And I mean, the weird part is, taking Farcaster, which is not something he built, and kind of like almost being the ambassador of the entire platform and protocol, if you want to call it that. Like really imbuing the ethos of open source and like decentralization to the point that he is probably synonymous with Farcaster, and right alongside the people who actually created it. And also, kind of took a big risk in starting a Nounish DAO with just a purple square as the artwork. It's pretty brave and bold. And I know he talked about some of the challenges of pitching Nounish DAOs to people who understand crypto, understand NFTs, but still can't quite wrap their head around the pros of a Nounish DAO and what they might offer. So yeah, he's kind of like a Nounish kind of I don't want to say cheerleader, but like a Nounish participant and champion of Nounishness, but kind of in his own way, like, Oh, here we go. Yeah, big proponent of the Nouns flywheel. This graphic you got up.
Yep. Yeah, we've got to work on resizing that later. Just another thing, excuse me, really important about Chris is, yes, he started the other DAO. Like, he is the on-chain creator of Purple DAO, which was the first, mainnet DAO, Nouns build DAO. Also very notable for, I believe, his kind of Nounish personality. of just very open, friendly, willing to talk to anyone. You know, he always says like his DMs are open. Just kind of an outgoing person who's also I've just experienced him to be honest, and just kind of friendly and approachable. And I think that that kind of spirit is very Nounish, and that's like I don't know. That's an important part I think about why Chris is important to the DAO.
Yeah, I think when you had him on the stream the other day, I was in the chat. You were going through kind of prototyping a delegate statement for Nouns Agora, and one of the things I said was like genuine and approachable. And so, yeah, you kind of just said this, similar things. So, just a really good ambassador of Nounishness, whether it's through Purple or even Nouns as a current delegate.
Yep. Yep. Definitely expect to see Chris. He got 2 Nouns delegated to him. Definitely he'll be involved in Nouns for a while. I'll be really interested to see what kind of weirdness comes of it. So again, that sort of whole pipeline there was kind of the Shark DAO pipeline. So we'll track on that. But let's go. We got a couple more cards. I put Noun 40 up here. Met Noun 40 at ETH Denver. And the interesting thing, right, his Void Head is very notable. Obviously, Noun 40 is very active in governance, very vocal leader and important kind of organizational decisions. I think he was involved in the Cayman Foundation. Very notable for a lot of reasons. What's weird is this is the first noun that was bought on secondary. So obviously the first 39 nouns, right, were bought by people who believed in nouns and didn't sell them, or I believe list them. Maybe some had been listed. But anyway, Noun 40, which is iconic, is the first secondary sale transaction. And I think it takes kind of a weird person to be the first secondary purchaser, you know?
Yeah. Not only like a secondary purchaser, but pretty much completely co-opted the identity and name, despite not being the original buyer of it, which is kind of interesting too in itself. You know, you buy it on secondary and it becomes you. And also a nounder noun. It's really special. First void. Special, just like all around kind of an amazing noun. And just a really thoughtful member of the DAO.
Yep, thoughtful, friendly. Shout out Noun 40. Who?
Yeah, I'm looking at it now. 200 WETH wrapped ether offer from eBoy Arts to Noun 40. Let's see, October 27th, 2021. So like a little bit over 2.5 months into Nouns.
Yeah. Also very involved in Ethereum, supporting Ethereum. They've got he's got that prop up. Let's shout that one out. Maybe it's passed already. I'm sure it's going to be overwhelmingly popular. What is it?
Yeah, that's kind of another component. I always really enjoy the proposals that he is a part of. They're always kind of like, I don't know, very Ethereum native feel to it. Kind of just always, I got a little bit of, they're interesting. They'll just come out. He was a big proponent of the Zach XBT kind of proposal that happened. And then this Nouns graffiti one too.
100%. Yeah, this, as I expected, is passing. I could not be more bullish on the Noun supporting Ethereum kind of proposals. I was also going to mention that Zach XBT which was notable. And it was also notable. I remember being really struck by how what happened. The first one of them, the first one was passed, but then canceled. Right? Do you remember this?
Yes. So, kind of one of the weirder aspects of nouns governance, and I guess kind of a security component is that if you undelegate or redelegate your noun at any point during the proposal process, anybody can kind of, I don't know if it's at any point during the proposal or after it's passed, but anybody can cancel that proposal. So that's kind of what happened. It had passed, he redelegated for something else, and then someone discovered it and canceled it.
Yep, and he said that here in 184. Yeah, note this prop is a read submit. But it's okay. Like, yeah, I mean, I guess you could call it his error, but this to me, when this happened, it seemed like, wow, that's like almost like an Easter egg of how the on-chain prop system works, and it was kind of discovered by Zach, or excuse me, discovered by Noun 40. But also, I've always been interested in who canceled it, like who would go out and like discover this vulnerability. So I don't know if that's if there's if I mean, do you know? Does anyone know?
I think I do, but I don't want to say it in case I'm wrong. So maybe a little more research and come back to it.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, but I think I know who it was. But I don't want to get it wrong because it's a tricky topic.
Understandable. Sure. Okay, so Noun 40, awesome. Next topic we had, let me get back to Figma. We had this thing, I got rugged by Maddie, which was awesome. So Maddie, right? I'm sure, well, if you don't know Maddie at MATYETH, Twitter, definitely follow Maddie. He runs the Nouns Substack. OG Nouner, been involved forever. Does awesome weird stuff. One of which is he makes rugs of nouns. And so he ran, I don't know, last week or a couple weeks ago, he ran a little contest, like retweet this if you want your little noun made into a rug. And I won. Like the first time I've ever really won anything like that. And so you all know my little noun. And so he sent me this Twitter DM, I don't know, a couple days ago, of which kind of panda head rug do I want, right? So what do you think I went with? I think you know actually, but index card. Which of these three do you like?
So yeah, I think I went with option 3, true to the pixel form. I feel like you have to stay pixely. Although we talked about it once. The kind of like great thing about the nouns artwork is that you can really, it's kind of like a base level of artwork, and you can transform it into any style you want. But for the purpose of the rug, the true pixel one is kind of a no-brainer to me.
Yeah, me too, obviously. And then it turns out he just started making the rug and streaming it on Discord live. So that was just that was bizarre. Like I've never met this guy. I never really communicated with him. Maybe I had, but certainly I never talked to him. And I sent a tweet, and then like I won this rug, and now I'm like designing a rug, and he's like making it for me and broadcasting that. So that's just kind of one of those weird nounish experiences.
Yeah, we've got a viewer commenting in. I don't know if you saw it. JD. He would like a rug of his own too.
Oh, awesome, JD. Let's get that comment up on screen. Nice. That's our first YouTube comment, isn't it? Shout out. Yeah, so check out JD go check out Maddie.eth. He's also in the jungle, which is where he's streaming this. and it ended up being built pretty quickly. And then, well, I'll show it off next time. I've got sort of a final photo. But let's keep going on the weirdness here. You did this purple and this, and nouns adjacent. So what's that about? Tell me.
Yeah, so we kind of already touched on Chris a little bit, but I put him there originally, and then you kind of dragged him over by the Shark DAO. And then I added Motivate Me. And these two guys are kind of, to me, operating kind of adjacent to nouns. And Chris obviously is kind of going more into nouns proper. But Motivate Me is kind of the community liaison of Cryptodes, kind of one of the most iconic CC0 projects. Artwork by Gremplin, a nouns artist, iconic artist in the crypto NFT space. And Motivate Me recently in the Cryptodes Discord has been kind of talking a lot about his vision behind how he wants to operate in the space and with Cryptodes. And it's very, very nounish. And I just think that he would make for a great guest here because he's trying to kind of take a project from, a different time in the NFT space and imbue it with nounishness in his own way. And you could tell he's just someone who's really genuine in it for the long haul and wants to just do good for the community, for the project. And I think it'd be interesting to get his thoughts as someone who's not quite in nouns, but knows a lot about it and really gets the whole idea.
Yeah, I know like zero about Motivate Me. Just there's so much going on. I obviously know about Cryptodes, but yeah, I'd love to explore that. Yeah, it's one thing about me is there's so many Cryptodes folks and nouns and so many important Cryptodes folks, but Gremplin obviously and Toady Hawk and 4156, but I know almost nothing about Cryptodes. I just didn't come from that context.
Yeah, I met the two of them actually next to each other at Art Basel, Miami. I guess Blooms is in the chat. He was there too, but he produces nouns glasses too, and distributes them out. He gave me a couple pairs, sent me a few pairs. So it has a little bit of nounishness in them. Kind of took the luxury glasses style and made them in a mass-produced version, and they're really good. So yeah, he's a big proponent of this whole concept of like taking your idea and going with it and being the champion of your idea. And even if okay, so like right now the big thing is that for NFT NYC he'd like to host a Cryptodes get together, and he has no experience in it, but he's just kind of going for it. He's never planned an event like this, but it's his idea. He knows he's got to be the one to execute it. And so he's proposing to the community, accessing some of the treasury that the Cryptodes have to just bring his vision to life.
Very nounish.
Yeah.
Very, very nounish. Yeah, definitely interested in exploring that. And we got a couple more to get to here. Mr. Boney, another, I think, crypto ecosystem thing that I don't really know anything about.
Boney is an Australian artist, part of like the really strong nounish art Australian contingent. He had one of the very, very early, and I don't know where it ranks in like timeline, but early nouns derivatives with the Bonies. Maybe I could pull one up here for you. I own a Boney. I bought it very late in the game, but it was a project I always admired from afar. And I'm trying to pull up the Boney here. There it is.
As you pull that up, shout out to JD Agogo, who apparently has already loved the rug so much he put him in the video for his prop. That's from Maddie. And looks like the video is coming out in the next day or so. Yeah, I've been talking to JD about coming on the show. Haven't figured out a time. Yeah, I would definitely like to chat more. I saw he was out in the TNS Discord today. Shout out JD. A go go.
Yeah, so I dragged the Boney in there. Let's see if you can see it. So the Nounish silhouette, but in his own style, pretty iconic. David Horvath is, I think he might be the biggest collector of Bonies, which is pretty amazing to have someone like that collect your work. And I just think he could make for a really good guest for one of these shows.
Totally. All right. So what else? Weird. A couple more things here. I wrote having your own prop house. Kind of weird. But yeah, we had Onion. You and I both submitted entries into Onion's prop house round. Although interestingly, neither of us have any votes, which is kind of funny. But you've also got your own prop house with an open round, right? How's that going?
It's going all right. A little bit slow on the entries, but I think with Prop House, everything always kind of picks up at the last minute. I think I talked about it a little bit last time, but essentially, I'm trying to aim for at least 50 entries just to share what Nounish is. And the idea is I give you a little bit of reward, a little bit 0.004 ETH. That's enough to buy yourself a cup of coffee. But then also, every participant will get kind of this commemorative Seneca token, I keep calling it. And I think, I don't know how often this is going to come to fruition, but that commemorative Seneca token can also be redeemed for an IRL coffee with me if you ever see me in person or something like that. And I think I'm kind of using this prop house round and this token to kind of seed a little bit more of a community around the index card and just kind of the fun and weird things that I can do with the index card. So this is me kind of just trying to seed a little bit of a community and have fun while doing it. I put the Seneca into the Figma down there.
Awesome. We'll get back to that.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm at, what is it, 14 out of potential 50 or more. So I need quite a few more. Trying to onboard a few people into it, maybe even in real life, get people to set up a wallet, share their thoughts. Got some work to do, 4 days left, but it's kind of like a prop house round that seeded this prop house round, and hopefully we'll seed a lot of other things in the future. Kind of just a lot of prop house. I think you still have to, still got to enter. So I'll be waiting on that one.
Yeah, I spent some time on stream looking through these. I like a lot of them, and I've got 4 more days to submit, and I will. I still think it's going to be really fun if you don't get 50 entries, but I do think you will. But it's also kind of funny that you aren't getting botted. Like, I would expect that there might be a lot of Chat GPT kind of entries to this, but I haven't seen any yet. I think these are all genuine.
I think they're all pretty. I mean, a lot of them are definitely genuine and like real meaningful people. SQ there. So yeah, I'm kind of surprised too. Maybe in the last minutes, someone will get a hold of it, bot it. But I will obviously go through, I'll read every single proposal, filter out, and that's if it's more than 50. But yeah, this is really just round 1 of many, many more to come. I have a couple ideas I'm working on. And then Onion, I actually entered Onion. If you go by created there, filter. Yeah. Unknown caller. I think I was the last submission to the Onion. I saw you doing it live on stream and I was like, oh no, I didn't submit yet. And so I submitted mine last minute. And I did it the only way I know how to, by making kind of an index cardy onion in the style of my prop house logo. So it was kind of like a celebration of the 2 prop houses going live at the same time. And then I believe it inspired Onion to kind of make onion derivatives. I don't know if you saw
Okay, but
that.
wait, hold on. Before you move
Yeah.
on, I don't want to bury the lead here because I signed on to do a stream where I was going to show myself submitting without realizing that there was 9 minutes to submit. And you're saying that you saw my stream, built your own submission, and you also submitted it just in time.
Yeah, I was even later than you. Um, Thankfully, I have a lot of practice making these kind of index cards, and it's not necessarily the most complex piece of art, but yeah, I pulled it off. Maybe like I don't know. I think I had 2 minutes to spare, so I did it.
You know, it would be weird. I think the weirdest outcome here would be so there's 4 winners here. I think the weirdest outcome would be if you get fourth place and I get fifth place, and you bump me out of the money because but you only submitted because you saw me streaming. I think that would be kind of a weird outcome.
We'll see. Yeah, nouns holders get to vote on this one, so it's hard to really predict. There's such a wide variety of nouns holders, different communities that have votes. So we'll see how it plays out. But yeah, I got there in the last 2 minutes, I think. I was in a panic.
Yeah, me too. But it did for me it made me work with a certain amount of urgency that was probably good for me. This is like I just knew I had to get it in. I just got right to it.
Yeah, I agree. Same with me. I was kind of happy. I just, it's like a 5 minute sprint.
Yeah. An interesting kind of reminds me of an earlier story you shared with me about how when the Noundry set a deadline to submit, that's when you created your index card, right?
Yeah, I sat, I think it was about 5 months almost since the inception of Noundry. And then, yeah, somewhere in that like 4 to 5 month range, it became very real. There became a deadline. And I just couldn't let myself sit there and not submit something. So that was the index card.
So that's an interesting, we should make a theme on that. Like one of these yellow themes about kind of deadlines as forcing functions. Because I mean, at least in your case, that's caused you to submit at least 2 things. And I know for me, I can say the same thing. And I think that's a benefit to certain ways that nouns do things. Is that forcing function? Okay, but sorry, I got to get through this here. I want to just do one last card here, and then we're gonna have some fun. Okay, so this one I put as weird. This is very, very significant news in my opinion. So, Variant Fund, which is a very large, prominent crypto venture capital fund. A lot of sort of influencer VC types, but very significant investors in ETH and crypto. They own some number of nouns. I think less than 10, more than 5, somewhere in that range. But they had not voted yet. And this woman, Alana Levin, shout out Alana, I follow her, who is a partner at Variant, voted for the first time in Prop 248. And they gave a reason. And I think it's weird for a couple of reasons. I mean, first, I think this is very significant because it's a large VC fund participating publicly under their identity. Giving that's a step that requires a lot of legal, regulatory work, all that stuff. I guess it's unclear if they own. I believe they own the nouns as part of their venture investment. So anyway, there are just all kinds of rules about that. But then they weighed in on this rage quit vote, and they weighed in quite strongly and with a very, very kind of very core nounish reason that I think is going to be sort of almost like a Rorschach test. But they're saying here, Lana says, although I'm not sure how exactly the voting decision was made, but it says it's Alana. So these three things here about what's so important to nouns: consistent source of funding, highly engaged community members, the ability to activate funds for bold, unique experiments. So these are very important nounish values that Variant weighed in publicly against this rage quit. Yeah, and I think that's kind of weird. Index card, thoughts?
For me, what's really special and weird about this, I would say, is that with nouns and like the nouns model, if a VC fund wants to get involved, the only, I mean, I guess they could put up a proposal of some sort. I don't know what that would look like, but the way to really get involved is the same way that anybody else gets involved. You go to the auction, maybe secondary, you bid and buy a noun, and you vote and you participate. So I think it's pretty amazing that a place like Nouns can attract such a broad and diverse set of participants, and it could be anyone from me having a say to a VC fund like Variant having a say, and we all did it the same exact way. We acquired a noun, read the proposal, give our thoughts, and so to me, yeah, it's kind of like a big sign of the power of nouns and the nouns model that we're all on the same kind of playing field.
Yep. And one other thing, actually, to make this weird is Alana left a little Easter egg here at this tweet and said you can see which noun we voted with here. You know, whenever I see an Easter egg like that, I've got to follow it. And they voted with the unicorn noun, one of my absolute favorites. I absolutely love the unicorn head. I think that's the dino accessory. But I think that Alana wanted us to know that for some reason. I do think that's kind of quirky and fun and weird. So again, shout out Varian, shout out Alana. Absolutely awesome that you voted. Yeah, really fun.
Yeah, voted and using Nouns Agora. So it's cool to see some of like the nounish infrastructure being used in that way.
Yep. And you know, the other thing that might be weird about this is why she voted, or why Alana voted this noun, is maybe based on the price. This I'm sure was bought at a value that is trading higher than what some secondary sales are going for, what the daily auctions are now. And I think the reason is basically like that doesn't, we're in the same situation that a lot of people who want the rage quit are, but we're totally against it. So yeah, first vote, first reason, disclosure noun. Very, very cool, very weird, awesome. Shout out Alana, shout out Variant. Okay, man, we burned through today. The time, what do you feel like doing for the rest of the episode, Index?
We could do a variety of things. I know we got the little cue here. Some of these were kind of your ideas, so if you like this Larry King one, I have one of my own cards here. I also was kind of working on off the screen a little bit. Maybe I'll drag one of them in. This Keep Nouns Weird poster.
Yeah, with hip rose glasses. How about I've never used the Noundry. You show me how to use the Noundry, and maybe I try a little trait.
Studio.noundry.wtf.
Yeah.
Okay, so pull it up.
And yeah, I'm gonna go for this. I'm gonna go for this Larry King suspender accessory challenge, just because I want to see if I can do the suspenders, and because I've been kind of modeling some of my interviews sort of off of Larry King, so it's sort of a throwback to Larry. But I've never tried to draw a trait or an accessory, so I wonder if I'm able to. Well, can you do accessories with this thing?
Yeah, you can kind of do any layer. So once you pull it up, we can kind of walk through it. try to find you a good. You could preload nouns, or you can load the traits yourself, which I don't think you have at the ready. So maybe I think a good noun, if you want to go to underneath the chicken over there, that second kind of noun button, go up a little bit more underneath. So this, yeah, under there, you see those three buttons. One is a save icon.
Yep.
Keep going up a little bit more.
Oh, yeah.
Unless you're
gotcha.
delayed.
Okay, load noun.
Okay, load noun. And I think you should load noun 476. Although you have a pretty good one right there. Yeah, just hit load noun or enter. There you go.
Got me a little cone. Gotcha.
Yeah.
So accessory. So what would I do? Like start with a blank shirt, maybe? Or go to body?
So I would just go to the accessory one. And now you can go two ways here. If you want to keep the tie kind of like in the, you know, in the style, suspenders and a tie, I think usually it is. So.
Oh, I see. Oh, so
up to you. Either you want to do it. Yeah. So you could erase, grab the eraser button on the top left, erase kind of the shirt. I would maybe do something like this or try this out. You could always kind of erase and try something else. But yeah, pick your color that you want your suspenders.
All right.
I know he kind of wears wacky colors, but maybe...
let's do pink purple. How about that?
Okay.
From the noggles. Oh, which one is it? Maybe this one. Okay, that's not going to work. So I want to be a little narrower, right? Like this. Hey, that looks pretty good.
Not bad. So I would say also take something like a little bit of a gold maybe, or like a brownish.
Wait, hold on. Sorry. I'm just now noticing this. So this is a space between the arm. I think I'm probably too close to it, right? It's almost an illusion because if you look at it like from a distance, it sort of looks right, but...
So like a lot of the nouns traits actually are shifted to the left for whatever reason. I don't know why there's that kind of like stylistic choice. The tie may be getting in your way, so you may have to get rid of the tie, but I actually don't mind it off to the side there. But yeah, maybe one pixel over. A lot of the traits, though, are shifted to the side. They're not fully kind of in line. But yeah, you can maybe drop the tie if you want. But
no, I like it with the tie.
And then you can always change the shirt color too. But let's see where you are. Yeah.
So how do I change a color? Let's do this.
Paint bucket.
I mean, there's the crisp white. That's a little too bright.
Maybe like an off blue.
Off blue.
I'll work on mine here a little bit. Gray blue there. Do some suspenders. I think we chose the same color now. I'm dropping mine in my rough sprint down here in the Figma.
What and then what about the buckles? Like
yeah, I was gonna say I would go to 1 pixel, maybe go down 1, 2, 3, like 5 or so pixels on the suspenders. Pick like a brass, like muted metal color.
And then do like that.
I think like a little further down. Probably just 1 pixel.
I don't think that works with brown. But I do take your point. Like it's... Okay. Well, it's not bad. Yeah.
I put mine in the Figma if you want to check it out real quick. Maybe too simple, mine is, but.
Oh, wow. Dude, there you go.
I gotta play with the colors, maybe throw a panda on there, but that was my take on this now.
Ooh, I love that. Oh, wait, are the buckles the same level or were they off center?
I have mine the same. You think he doesn't align his?
Well, traffic cone, maybe not. But I legit love the suspenders look. Man, thanks for doing that. Yours came out way better than mine. I like the monochrome color brown and then the accent color.
Yeah, I think Larry King tends to wear a little bit of crazy colors, but so maybe we can mix it up, but it kind of goes with it. This muted color.
Yeah, awesome. Well, I'll figure out how to drop mine. And was that difficult? How do you export from Foundry Studio?
Kind of that save icon. Click export. Save. I usually go like 512 in the middle. And then I just drag it from wherever it saves on your computer.
Oh, dude, that's...
Or I guess you can kind of, right-click and copy, I think, from that preview, if you don't want to actually save the file. But I always like to save them just in case.
I will say I love the Nounish infrastructure, which is like you don't have to give your email address. You don't have to worry about clicking through some maze. You just you click save and then it saves your PNG. Love it.
I spent so much time in studio.foundry. A lot of it. Yeah.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks for indulging me there. Yeah, what do you think? Do you want to try a new challenge and talk about, let's see, we got your poster, we got Infinite Games. We got a lot of stuff we could talk about. Where do you feel like going?
I could kind of go anywhere. I like that whole outlet kind of meme we have going on here.
Yeah, there's a bunch of different challenges we could do. There's also are there any outlet nouns? Has it been a trait that's been selected? I don't know that I remember one, but
I think so. Let me see. I could be wrong, actually. Maybe. Yeah. All right. 625 is the outlet.
Yeah, and what's so interesting, just looking at it now, let me grab this one, is the glasses, it tells a different story about the face. So, what kind of facial expression, they've kind of got their mouth open, like gasping almost, but that's, and it also kind of, the outlet becomes like a snowman in the background almost, with kind of an eye here, and putting the nozzles over it just makes it interesting.
The weird thing with this mouth, and I don't know if I saved them all, but I started playing around with this mouth on other nouns. like just yesterday or the other day. Like a more open mouth. So I just dropped the sushi one in there above it.
Yeah, interesting.
I edited that. So I was kind of just playing around with random ideas and concepts on like altering nouns, kind of like along the grease thing I was doing. And so I wanted to see how nouns would change if I messed with their mouth. So it's kind of funny that this one pops up. I don't know if
That
I'm
is a
exploring this idea
clean.
any further.
That is a clean sushi noun, man. That is a salmon roll. The colors are right. The hip rose glasses. That is a clean noun, man.
I just dropped in a bunch of random guys in there with bigger mouths than they're supposed to have.
Yeah. Yeah, outlet, back to kind of the weirdness of memeing with the outlet is they're in like every room. I mean, I'm in the US, like pretty much most rooms I'm in have an outlet almost all the time, but you never really think about them, you use them, and they're just so important like to everything I do in life right now. Basically depends on having home electricity that's reliable and available. And I don't really think about it that much, but doggone, I mean, it's an important noun, man.
Yeah, a kind of unsung hero of the world. The outlet.
Yeah, so I'm definitely down to keep exploring outlets. We started up our episode 3 board. We got some fun stuff. We also got a lot more to talk about infinite gamers, infinite games. You want to close out this episode? You want to talk a little bit about kind of this other season we're talking about?
Yeah, sure. We can kind of preview what we have in mind for this style of live stream and show in the future. We'll follow you real quick here. Yeah, so we're kind of considering Keep Nouns Weird as like a pilot season, a season one. Figuring out our flow, how we want to operate on the live stream, how we want to kind of produce content based off of these live streams, and kind of treating these live streams as kind of like feeding our little content machine and world. And we have an idea of where we could take a next version of it, sort of a season 2. And you have it here, season 2, if you want to read that. Kind of preview. Give us a preview.
Sorry, hold on. I lost you for a second. What'd you say?
I was just saying how like this Keep Nouns Weird is kind of like our pilot season, our season 1 of kind of our live stream flow, working together, figuring out how we want to produce content, and kind of how this live stream kind of feeds other content, like clips, little moments, and kind of like tell the story through live stream. As we kind of play our nouns, you play the panda, I play the index card, and we go through the little nouns ecosystem. And we think we kind of have like another season idea in mind here for season 2.
Yeah, so you might see us jamming about this, but basically, since you and I have been making these cards, been kind of thinking about things in terms of cards and mapping stuff out. I just thought, well, okay, what would be an interesting kind of live stream format? And I figured that one thing that would be interesting, but I don't see it here anymore. Oh, yeah, right here. So what if we did no, that's not it. What if we did a live stream where the season finale of the season was basically live recording of the last couple of hours of a on-chain proposal. In this case, we're thinking like we'd go on-chain on nouns, and we'd do the whole process of kind of coming up with a prop, finding, a way to create value, making relationships, finding a way to get on chain, finding a way to campaign and get voters. We just think it'd be interesting to do that as a live stream. And this would be like the season finale would be like, all right, our prop is ending, and the thinking is either like we'd win or we'd lose. Like there would be an ending, like something would happen with a prop, or I guess conceivably, like maybe we couldn't get on chain, but I think we could. And there'd be like a definite ending, and we know that we can deliver on these live streams. We both, been funded. We've both won prop houses. We've both been on chain. I've been on chain at least. I lost very badly my first time, then won. And yeah, I just think it'd be interesting. So we're also looking for feedback. Our DMs are open. I had a great live stream earlier this week with a guy from Poseidon, Porter, who was also a successful kind of ZK YouTuber. And he gave me a really, really good frame to think about this. But yeah, what are you jamming with? Do you want to talk about the mood board real quick, Index?
Yeah, we go over to like our little inspiration mood board. If I think it's kind of all the way up there. Our Figma file's getting out of control a little bit. Where is it? Yep, right there. So I dropped a couple of these images in. The first one was kind of like 6 days to air, the South Park one. But the one that kind of is really fun and interesting to me, I'm a big Seinfeld fan, but within the show of Seinfeld, they kind of come up with a show like Seinfeld, and they pitch the show while they're on the show. And their whole like thing is the show is about nothing, and it's just like a very meta take on Seinfeld and the kind of like the current state of television when it was on air and what people thought of Seinfeld. And so that's sort of kind of like how our prop is, but there's a little more to it than just nothing. I guess the same with Seinfeld, but yeah, this is kind of like my inspiration. George and Jerry pitching their show because we're kind of pitching little nouns about going on chain at Nouns, and we're making an entire show about it. And it's just all kind of like really meta. But also, I think at the end of the day, kind of like an instructional and experiential entertainment kind of piece here that we can produce together. But yeah, this 100%. Is my inspiration.
And of course, I love Seinfeld. We've been jamming about this. Yeah, I mean, the way I look at it is I know that we can produce these live streams. Like I've done a bunch, you've done a bunch. And I just know that it's important to make this process kind of accessible so that people can understand really what Nouns is about. And you can't really understand it until you kind of participate at the Ethereum level with a wallet by making proposals, by voting, by going on chain. And I know that we can get on chain. Like, I really don't know if we could pass a prop at Nouns. I've never been on chain at Nouns. And it's interesting because it's constantly changing. I talk to people like CDT who hasn't been on chain in, I don't know, 4 months or 3 months. And it's like, it's a totally different environment now than it was, back when there was a Discord and there's a different voter base. And I just think it's interesting to make content about that. I know we can make compelling content. And I know that you're the right partner to do this with, because when I started talking about how meta this was, I think you just said something like, I love meta. Like I can get real meta. Do you remember what you said? Something like that?
I don't know exactly, but yeah, this is kind of like right up my alley. I feel like our big challenge here will be just trying to have people kind of get what we're doing. But I think, we come in with an episode or two, we show them that we've already kind of done it, and hopefully let the content kind of start speaking for itself and explaining it. But yeah, this is kind of right up my alley. And I've never been on chain at Nouns either, technically. I've been on the receiving end of a successful proposal, but I had nothing to do with it. I have never been on chain at Little. So, yeah, for me, this is kind of also a learning experience. And again, back to like the big and little collaboration and just kind of exploring all the different parts, doing it kind of live. It'll just be an eye-opening experience, I think, and hope to kind of inspire and show other people how it's done.
Yep.
Successful or not. Yeah.
Yep. And also work on the story of all nouns. And these are our 15 nouns. You know, I've messed around with some art. This is a famous painting of George Washington. Oops. Let's see if I can grab him. George Washington crossing the Delaware during the Revolutionary War, you know, leading kind of a ragtag group of rebellions, you know, exploring new territories, kind of setting out on their own. And I'm a believer in little nouns. So these are the 15 nouns we own, like the stapler. You know, we got this. Man, what is this one? Is this a crystal ball? I really like the mouth on the crystal ball.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so like our live stream would be like we want these 15 nouns. We would want them to vote for us. So it'd be like, hey, can we draft a proposal that garners the support from the little noun community that, you know, takes us across the Delaware? I just think there's a lot of good and fun that can come of that. And yeah, let's get meta, man.
I always got to drop one of those in. My take on, I forget what noun that was, but it's a little.
So much happier with the way that you put this beard. I don't know, it just looks happy. This one looks almost like not as happy. I don't know.
Yeah, super wide. Just widen them out quite a bit. But this is fun to make. Yeah, I did this randomly one day. I forget when. It was a while ago, but I'm pretty happy with how he turned out. So
awesome. Well, all right. On that note, let's call it for Keep Nouns Weird episode 2. It's been awesome having you. We really appreciate our audience. Please reach out to us, DM us, subscribe to us, comment on Twitter. We love our early audience. We will be back next week for episode 3. We already got the Figma started, probably on Thursday, although we haven't set it yet. But follow us on Twitter, and we'll see you next week on Keep Nouns Weird, episode 3, right?
Yeah. Thanks to everybody that tuned in. We had a few chat participants this time. That was kind of nice. We just kind of hope to keep growing it, keep refining our little process over here. And hopefully season 2 is in the works sometime soon.
All right. We'll see you next time, next Thursday. Later.